think it's the pressure. Well, have you seen our TV, the TV, whatever? What do you think?
Even this guy say pressure say if all these people want to
Maybe he doesn't want to be part of it. I've seen it, but let me send him. Hello then, welcome to VOP Politics right here on VOP TV. My name is Esther Wachuku. You would do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Voice of the People TV. And of course, across the social media handles, it's at VOP TV Live. So right there on your screen, be part of the conversation. And now on VOP Politics, we discuss and analyze trending issues in the political arena as well as other sectors that impacts daily existence, okay? So we're going to talk what the news overview is all about. And let's start off with the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aruola. Now, today he reaffirmed the judiciary's commitment to remain unaffected by the influence of public sentiments in their ruling. Justice Aruola made this disclosure during the commencement of the special session for the 2023-2024 legal year and the induction of 58 newly appointed senior advocates of Nigeria. He also used the opportunity to emphasize the importance of hard work, honesty, and courtesy among judicial officers. Now, he also urged them to carry on their duties humbly and treat litigants, witnesses, and bar members with respect. Aruola also reiterated that the judiciary will never be overwhelmed by the noises of the mob. Now, you do know recently there have been a call on the judiciary to try as much as possible to be objective and transparent in its ruling. A couple of people believe that the appeal court's judgment on a couple of issues pertaining the election or post-election has nothing been but being biased. Literally, there was no transparency, and a couple of people have called out the judiciary, which is meant to hold on to the balance of our democracy, to not be untwisted or choose a side in the political space. Others have said that the judiciary should not be a decider on who should represent the interests of Nigerians. The franchise or the election is an opportunity for Nigerians to choose who will govern and lead them, but not the judges. The judiciary is not meant to decide who would lead them. And so literally they're saying there should be an avenue through which the judiciary would not be the all and sundry on deciding who would be or who would represent the interests of the people. Well, there's a lot more to that. But apparently Justice Aruola used this special occasion to tell the judiciary not to be hoodwinked, not to be carried away, not to be afraid, but they should interpret the law as they deem fit. Now, critics have alleged that does it mean the judiciary can interpret the law as they deem fit, especially if they have been induced? If the law or the interpretation of the law is in opposition to what the Constitution says, then what is the hope of the common man? If the common man cannot meet up with the status quo of any judiciary or any legal professional who represents the interests of the people, then what happens to the balance of justice? What happens to morality and justice? These are basically what Nigerians and a couple of critics believe or actually talking about concerning the judiciary. Well, Justice Aruola paid no heed to them. He emphasized that it was important, and I'm going to quote, he says, "The law remains the law, no matter whose interest is involved. In all we do, as interpreters of the law, we should endeavor to sever the strings of emotion from logic and assumption from fact." So he believes that a lot of critics are basically emotive. They're all gesticulating or interpreting what is going on in the judicial space from an emotional point of view rather than with the facts and with logic. He also stated that the judiciary, that is the judges or the legal practitioners or those who intend to go full on in the legal world, should not be overwhelmed by the actions or loud voices of the mob. So Justice Aruola is referring to the critics, a couple of Nigerians who they feel do not understand the techniques of the law or the technicalities of the law, who do not understand what legal perspectives are all about. And so he referred to them as noisemakers, mobs who don't understand anything. So they should not be swayed by these mobs, they should not be swayed by the noisemakers, but rather they should ensure that they carry out their duties without sentiments and also properly decide cases. Well, if you're joining us on the program, you should be able to help explain properly the context through which Justice Ariwola is talking about. And if you agree, let's know. Let's listen to, or rather read your comment right now as we're streaming live. Okay, so apparently too, in connivance with what a lot of critics have been complaining about concerning the recent ruling from the appeal court and possibly the interpretation of the law by the judicial system post-election, you do know Archbishop Kuka, that is Matthew Kuka, the Archbishop of Sokoto Diocese. Well, he has reacted as well to the recent court judgments on the elections in the country. The cleric is lamenting the involvement of the judiciary in politics. You recall earlier I told you that critics believe that the judiciary is not meant to be involved in politics. They should not even be dragged into the political shenanigans that takes place in the political space in the country, so that they can maintain a sense of objectivity and balance in their jurisdiction or in the disposition of their duties. Kuka spoke at the 8th House of Justice Summit in Kaduna, where he was a keynote speaker during the weekend. Now, during speaking on the summit with the theme Electoral Accountability and Democratic Stability, Kuka said it was unfortunate that the Nigerian judiciary had become entangled in politics. He says he is saddened by the fact that the judiciary has now found itself being sucked into politics. He says elections will always give us what is called unintended consequences, but it is also important to understand that a contest is always a contest, and you use the experience of this to prepare for the next context. You'll recall that the appeal court last week sacked NNPP's Abba Yusuf as Kano State Governor and used the opportunity to declare APC's Yusuf Gawuna as the winner. Also in a separate ruling, the appellate court also sacked 11 members of the Plateau State House of Assembly elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party and handed APC the victory. Now let's come down to Aloy Ejimako, who is a legal representative of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB Nnamdi Kanu. Now Aloy is urging Indibo, that is the Igbo elders, to give an ultimatum to the Lagos State Governor and President Tinubu. According to him, he says, do not beg this governor, do not beg the president. I need you to give them an ultimatum and tell them to categorically tell you that if you're no longer interested in having Igbos be part of your society, be part of Nigeria, then you either give them their referendum, which is their actualization of the self-made Biafra, or you do not harass them, intimidate them, or maltreat them. So he gave this advice on the backdrop of demolitions recently taking place in Lagos State. He also urged the Igbo leaders to visit the National Assembly caucus, traditional and civic leaders. Now, this statement, he actually wrote it via his X account, formerly known as Twitter. Ejimako is insisting that the Igbo leaders must not beg for anything. Instead, they should issue an ultimatum against the demolition recently taking place in some axes within Lagos. He also urged the federal government and the Lagos State government to stop making the country ungovernable and uncomfortable for the Igbos. Ejimako made the plea amidst the claims that the Lagos State government is targeting and demolition markets populated by Igbos, including the demolition of buildings owned by the Igbos in the state. Now, you recall that the Ladipo spare part market, popularly occupied by this certain ethnic group, the Igbos, recently was just opened. And a couple to a lot of traders who actually trade there say the government on several occasions locks up the market for no reason. They tell them maybe the market is dirty, despite how they pay for waste disposal, they pay for security, they pay for road maintenance, they paid for organization in that axis. Still, the government at any time wakes up on a whim and decides to lock up the market. Now they have to gather and pay more money to the state government for the markets to be open. According to them, they see themselves as slaves who are paying consistently, but then are not being comfortable to run their businesses and make profit, literally targeting them at any given time or any opportunity. Well, we do know that one of the former Super Eagles striker, Emmanuel Emenike, who claimed that the Lagos state government demolished his house despite getting due approval from relevant authorities, was one of the popular names mentioned in this demolition exercise. So Ejimakor is asserting that it is cowardly to demolish the properties of the Igbos. Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council, in a recent development, has approved the 2024 appropriation bill of 27.5 trillion naira. Now, the Federal Executive Council gave the approval today during the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting held inside the council chamber of the presidential villa in Abuja, which was presided over by President Bola Tinubu. Now, VOP Politics, of course, we gathered that the 2024 budget will be presented to the National Assembly by the President on Wednesday, which is in 2 days' time. Earlier, President Tinubu had sworn in 8 newly appointed permanent secretaries into the Federal Civil Service after approving their appointments last week. The appointment also follows the recently concluded selection process by the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation. And that is all we have for you on the news overview. When we come back, I will introduce my guest and the conversation commences full on. Alright, we're still on VOP Politics right here on at VOP TV Live. So if you are watching us at the moment, I would implore you to comment and be part of the conversation while we look at issues in the political arena. Before we go ahead, I will introduce my guest. First of all, I will introduce one who will be joining us virtually, and that's a legal practitioner, a social and political affairs commentator, and that's Barrister Evan Sifeli. Barrister Evan Sifeli, welcome to VOP Politics. Barrister Evan Sifeli, kindly unmute your device so I can hear you, and of course you can hear me too. Barrister Evan Sifeli, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, now I can hear you very well. Thank you so much for joining us on VOP Politics. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, I also have right here in the studio, as usual, Mr. Peter Anosike, who is a political and social affairs commentator, a development strategist, a philosopher, and of course, an author of one of the best-selling books in Nigeria at the moment. Mr. Peter Anosike, welcome to VOP Politics.
Thank you for having me.
Are you ready for me today? All right, let's start off with this reaction from Shehu Sani. You know that ever since we've been in the political climate, he's an ex-senator and he always reacts to political issues as issues trump up. Well, he said that there have been massive reactions after taking to his official X account, which we all know as Twitter, where he says that the Court of Appeal ruling or concerning this contesting of political offices and acquiring political positions in the country, where your school certificate, that is your West African Examinations Council certificate, is not a necessary requirement for you to have as an educational prerequisite to run for office. So he reacted to the news and he wrote, he said, so the court ruled that a secondary school certificate is not required for contesting elections. Next is you don't even need to contest. And he wrote about that. He said, the post has stirred massive reactions from random social users in Nigeria, with many taking to the comment section on Twitter, that's the X account, to react. And others said, let the APC continue using the judiciary to lower the standard of the elective offices to suit and favor their cronies. Others said, just make money any means and force yourself into the seat. Boom, you are the president. And now you can buy thugs with drugs here and there. Straight up, the seat is yours. He said, but that is a law, sir. It is in line with the Constitution. These are several reactions from critics concerning his ex-post. He said, there is no more contest in Nigeria. INEC select for us. Others said, all this started under Chief Tinubu's administration. Another person says, inconsistent judgments from the same court. So, Professor Evans Ifili, you're a legal practitioner and you actually occupy the office to help us explain this in the proper context. By the Constitution, required for any individual to contest for any political office, is your secondary school certificate required? And also, do you think that this is coming now basically because of the controversy that was generated during the elections on President Bola Tinubu concerning the supposed alleged fourth surgery CSU certificate he tendered to INEC? What's your take on this development?
Well, what the Constitution says is that you should have made an attempt.
Okay.
An attempt does not require that you should have a secondary school certificate. But it is sufficient to say that if you have made an attempt, that attempt is sufficient. Now, the law actually say that senior school certificate examination, which does not mean WAEC. It doesn't mean WAEC. It could be NECO, it could be NAPTEP, it could be WAEC, it could be, and any other qualification, any other of its equivalent.
Okay.
Its equivalent, okay? An attempt on SSCE or its equivalent, okay? And it went further to say that the court went further to say that you need that. If you don't have that, all you need to do is to also prove to INEC your capacity and ability to speak and write English. You know, that you understand English. That's the court had ruled on that. Okay, so that is the qualification. You see, the problem we have, or our politicians have, is that they go and front load all kinds of certificates, PhD, HND, all kinds of certificates to prove pointless brag, to make pointless bragging up and down that they went to school, and when the Constitution did not say you should go to any school. The Constitution says just be able to speak English. Just have the, that's the law, not the court. Then the Constitution said have SSC, attempt SSC or its equivalent. Okay, so that's what is required. That is the barest minimum. So, but if you now have masters, you have first degree, you have second degree, you have that, you can put all that. It's just surplusage. Okay? Now, when you go and put anything, if you put anything and the adverse party goes to court to say that you don't have that certificate or what you submitted was fraud, you can no longer go back to SSC or its equivalent. You have already put forth a claim, and that claim is under oath because that form where you fill in your details is an affidavit itself. And you finish that process in the court when you are making yourself available for that purpose. So it becomes an oath, okay? Now, if it turns out to be false, it becomes perjury that you lied on that oath. You never had those certificates, but you claim to have them. It's a ground for disqualification, okay? It's a ground for disqualification because it means that you have been found wanting in character and learning. And if you are such kind of person, it is expected that you do not lead any set of person under any circumstance. Okay? So the context here is that if only politicians will stay within their means, stay within what they have, use what they have, what they've acquired rightly. But it's difficult in Nigeria to even find one politician that ever went to school, or to find one politician that ever completed any course anywhere. So it's difficult. And because they know themselves, they know that 90% of the things they say they have, they do not. They know that the political system is preoccupied with the worst of us. I mean, the best of us, the most refined among us, do not take on to politics, because what you are required to do as a politician, the very refined person will not want to do it. So that's why you have all these squabbles. When you find one politician going against the other and farming a particular argument, they all know themselves that truly this man don't have this thing, or he has it, or he forged it, or he fabricated lies, he lied on that oath. They know that they do all these things. That is why they hold tenaciously on each other when they define a cause and they want to pursue it. That is the kind of political system that we find ourselves that have been created over the years in Nigeria.
All right, thank you, Barrister Evans Ufeli. The production team just told me that Mr. Dele Fanimore is in right now. Mr. Dele Fanimore, good evening and welcome to VOP Politics. Kindly unmute your device so I can hear you respond. Okay, I've been told that he's out again. Mr. Peter Anosike, Ms. Barrister Evans Ufeli has given us a direct description of what is required, the necessary requirement to contest for any political office. Do you think that our political office holders have taken advantage of the little requirement to do what they like? Also, another question to also consider is the fact that basically the minimum educational requirement is a primary school certificate, and you would think that over time our constitution would modify and set the bar higher, so we'll have more educationally qualified individuals as a prerequisite to occupy political offices. So what do you think?
Well, just like what Barrister Ufeli said, these politicians cause their own problems with their own hands. I know of a politician who used to call me some years back to send the text messages for him, maybe to governor, to the national party chairman, and so on and so forth. But if you see the certificates that this man have, I was asking myself, for what? You don't need all these things.
Okay.
You want to create problems with your own hands. Who do you want to impress? Follow what the Constitution said: primary 6 and 15 years post experience, or GCE, SSCE. You don't need all these things. So he has chartered in administration, chartered in accounting, but he was calling me to send WhatsApp texts for him. So I have to tell him, excuse me, sir, you have to, all these things are not necessary. He told me it is packaging. It is packaging. I said, you are putting yourself in trouble. You don't need all these things. He's saying no.
Package.
Understand me? So they are causing trouble with their own hands. It's not necessary. Who do you want to impress? So to me, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, according to you. So up next, though, we do know that Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party came second and third respectively in the February 25 concluded presidential election. And of course, you do know as well that they took legal battles against President Bola Tinubu of the Ruling All Progressives Congress, who was declared winner by INEC. Now, a human rights lawyer and former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, has revealed that after 4 weeks of delivering its judgment on the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi's election appeal, the Supreme Court has not yet released a certified true copy of the judgment since October 26. Odinkalu stated this in a post on his X account on Sunday night, where he further revealed that the Apex Court released a certified true copy of its judgment on the appeal brought before it by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, on November 22. Now, of course, he went further to say that despite the court constitutionally having 7 working days window or maximum of 14 working days to release a certified true copy of its judgment, the Apex Court released a CTC of a judgment on Atiku almost a month after it delivered its judgment, while the court is yet to release a CTC on Obi's judgment. Barrister Evans Ufeli, constitutionally speaking or legally speaking, how come the Supreme Court has not released a CTC, the certified true copy, on the judgments it carried out on Peter Obi and President Tinubu? We saw the judgment on Kano State, and when, of course, the judgment created the ruckus across every platform, they released the CTC, which contravened the judgment that was given physically in court. And the court redacted what they had circulated earlier, made a correction in the space of 24 hours, and recirculated it. That's what the appeal court did. So what is going on with the Supreme Court not disclosing or putting out a certified true copy on the ruling or the judgment on Peter Obi and the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate, who is now the president, Bola Tinubu?
Yeah, there is no constitutional provision that says the CTC, certified true copy of the judgment, must be delivered within 7 days to anybody. No.
Okay.
When a judgment is delivered, the parties will make formal application for the judgment, for the certified true copy of the judgment. You see, a judgment of a court is what is read before the open court. That's the judgment. What is read before the open court is the judgment, and that is it. So whoever wants a copy of it has to make a formal application before, address it to the registrar of that court to have a CTC. The court will not on its own volition print CTC copies of this judgment and start to distribute it on the streets or take it to the house of parties. Parties have gotten what they wanted. What the court owes parties is to read the judgment in an open court, and that settles it. So if you want a copy of it, you make a formal application to it. I think this what Odinkalu is raising is not. It's going to make a mountain out of a molehill.
Oh, really?
It is not. It's not. It's not a contentious issue, because except Peter Obi has made a formal application to that effect and have been denied. That is when you fought the Supreme Court or the registrar of that court for oversight.
So are you saying it's possible that the party involved, as was mentioned by Odinkalu, may not have written any official requests to actually get its hands on the CTC? Is that what we're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I just told you something. I said unless.
Okay.
The only part where you can, my first layer of this conversation is to say that the court will not, on its own volition, print certified true copies and go distributing it on all, go to parties' houses to go and know.
Okay.
What the court owe the public or the party is to read the judgment in an open court. So whoever wants a copy of the judgment has to take a further step. And that further step is to go and apply for a certified true copy of it. Now, if anyone have made an application for a certified true copy of it, and the court declined to issue it to that person or the party, then the court can be incorporated. The court can be reprimanded to that effect for being in dereliction of her duties. Okay? So that is the issue. But in the event that a judgment is delivered and no one applied for the satisfactory copy, perhaps because the party in question now did not win or they didn't see it necessary, then the court won't do that. But if they have applied and it is not given, then someone must be punished to that effect, because it is wrong for there to be a formal application before a court for a satisfactory copy of a judgment, and after several months, that judgment is still not out to the party who so applied for it.
Okay. All right. Mr. Peter Anosike, what's your take on that?
Well, what Barrister Ofini said is true. Maybe PDP and LP felt that it is not necessary. Supreme Court is the final court. So they may feel that going for the CTC, there's no other court to appeal to.
Okay.
Assuming it is still appeal and there's another court higher. But for now, that's the last bus stop. So it was frustration. What am I going to do with it?
Okay.
So all the NACA, all the cattle, whatever, I feel he should have complained if, as you said, PDP and LP has written for the CTC and it was not given to them. But since they did not ask for it, court will not just go and print it out and say take. No.
All right.
It is given on request.
Okay.
But I feel that PDP and LP may feel that it is not necessary. What are they going to do with it? It's my own thinking.
All right, thank you. Barrister Evans Sifeli, I don't know if you joined me or you listened to me during the news overview where I got to explain a recent statement at a Justice Summit in Kaduna by the Archbishop of Sokoto Catholic Diocese, Bishop Matthew Kuka. And he reacted, as every other person has reacted, to the recent court ruling, especially the appeal court ruling on post-election matters. So he is lamenting the involvement of the judiciary in politics. And of course, he's saying that he is saddened with the fact that the judiciary has now found itself being sucked into politics. Is that what we're seeing here? Because according to Justice Ariwola, he made a statement during the induction of a particular special session of the 2023-2024 legal year, induction of 58 newly appointed senior advocates of Nigeria. And he advised the legal practitioners to not pay attention to the mob noise. He says that they should always carry out their duties without sentiment or bias, but they should interpret the law as they require it or as they deem fit. Literally, basically, not out of the Constitution. And according to him, he says that the judiciary will never, at any point in time, be overwhelmed by the noises of the mob. Now, you know that recently with the rulings, Nigerians are complaining seriously as to what path the judiciary has taken. A couple of other political opposition believe that the judiciary has been arm-twisted by the ruling All Progressives Congress. Others are in dispute in the logic given by the appeal court recently in Kano State as well as in Plateau State. They no longer trust the judicial system. So, in reiterating or buttressing that perspective, Matthew Kuka is literally saying that the judges, or rather the judiciary, has immersed itself in politics. Please, with recent happenings, Barrister Evans Sifeli, is your line of thoughts in that path as well?
Yeah, there's no doubt about the fact that the judiciary has largely compromised its nobility, its revered status. It has thrown it to the dust and thrown it to the wind. The judiciary have consistently disappointed the public. I must say this, and I say this advisedly, that the moral impetus of the judicial system have been ruptured by the bad eggs among us. And it is a very disturbing situation. Disturbing in the sense that they have allowed politicians to influence their actions and inactions And to the extent that we now have to see the kind of outcomes that you have, where a court will say that because certain ballot papers which were counted as vote for a particular political party were not stamped and signed by INEC, therefore the people should be punished, the people should be disenfranchised, such votes should be voided and thrown out. The people whom the politicians had to campaign vigorously to have them come out to vote. At the end of the day, in the general election, 26% of the total number of registered voters came out to vote. A very poor number. Out of that 26%, some court is somewhere saying that for a particular governor, that part of the vote that was counted for him that made him clinch victory, that a huge chunk of that were not signed by INEC. Therefore, the sins of INEC should be visited on the people. That's not equity, that's not justice. That for me is miscarriage of justice. So it will continue in that line. A court in Zamfara will rule that, the Court of Appeal will rule that in Zamfara, that INEC was wrong to have relied on the IRF to determine the winner of the election, which technically means that the IRF is for the public view, that the public can view anything they like there, but that what is important is what is collated from the back end of INEC. Such kind of, and to think that throughout the judgment from the Supreme Court to the Court of Appeals now, from the presidential to the governorship election down to the House of Assembly, National Assembly elections and all that, no court has reprimanded INEC for being complicit or of his and being in dereliction of our duties for almost taking the toga of a political party, took and left the constitutional responsibility of being an umpire, left it, became complicit, compromised everything known under the sun. No word from any of these courts against INEC. Then what we saw was judgments that are not, in as much as, largely speaking, some of the judgments, to refer to the judiciary, some of the judgments were in order where a party could not prove its case. Some of the judgments were in order where you allege substantial non-compliance and you could not prove polling unit by polling unit and you could not get a particular right. Fine, you cannot claim victory, you cannot argue further. The court did well in those, but in areas where they are supposed to uphold the embers of justice as it relates to the public, the masses and the citizens of this country, whose allegiance, whose mandate was a critical factor in for the purposes of the democratic engagement of the country, were largely disappointed. So we cannot say this enough. The judiciary must stay away from controversial technical judgments that will, in the long run, rupture the precedent, the judicial precedent that will reverse so much in law. Because the courts are courts of records, whatever judgment a superior court gives today, all lower courts, it binds all lower courts. Section 287 of the 1999 Constitution says the judgment of the High Court is binding on the magistrate courts. The judgment of the Court of Appeal is binding on the High Court. The judgment of the Supreme Court is binding on the Court of Appeal and all courts below. That is what we call judicial precedent. Records is very critical. Now, when you begin to get the records wrong, what you are doing is that you are putting layers of wrong for which lower courts are supposed to, for which they're supposed to be binded by lower courts. So that is why the judiciary must, as a matter of necessity, for those judges that have veered off the traditional practice of the law by concocting our jurisprudence with unknown practice should come out from that as much as possible. And most importantly, the citizens and the country in general must clean up the the political system. Because the reason the whole public want the judiciary to perform magic is because the public colluded, some persons in the public colluded with the politicians to mess the electoral system up. And everybody now turn around the next day and say, all eyes on the judiciary, waiting for the judiciary to use court judgment to clean the entire mess of the populace and the politicians who are accomplices to those they use to buy votes, to snatch ballot boxes, to create election malpractice, and to mess up the political system. So when you have a ruptured political system, everyone will resort to the court because grievances will be the outcome of any kind of result that INEC chunks out. Results that are not from the place of merit. That is why everybody's in court today. And then coming to court, you all pull out to an independent institution, the court, which is the body that is by law is expected to resolve disputes. Now you flood the place with all the mess you have created. Now you are now putting the judges on their toes to use a court judgment to clear the entire mess. Which judiciary? That is, you see, because sometimes the focus, the weight gets so hard on the judiciary that we don't look at the fact that if we have a clean political system, sparingly would you have people go to court to contest the outcome of results, where the politicians are aware that they were heavily voted against, and there's nothing they could have done. And even if they go to court, it is clear that the people came out and voted against them. It's on merit. Nobody's not ballot box, nobody. I mean, but in this case, our politics is that even those small political parties that are telling you that they were rigged out, they too, they rigged. So what they go to court to do is just to contest who rigged best and intelligently. That's exactly what they're doing in courts. Then you expect the judiciary in that soil of shame to use a court judgment to draw the country to a right platform, or to make a judgment that will turn Nigeria to the best country overnight. It can never work. I think we are pointing accusing finger at the wrong institution, which is the judiciary.
All right, Mr. Peter Anosike, nevertheless, according to Justice Ariwola, unnecessary and unwarranted utterances are bound to embarrass not only others, but the judge himself. Thus, what should be asked, and what should not be asked should be avoided. For Aisha Yusufu, you know her as a great critic of this administration. She said that the judiciary are basically a toy in the hands of President Bola Tinubu. Would you align your thoughts with hers? Would you also say that the judiciary is a putty in the hands of this administration?
Esther, when I was growing up, I used to hear that when judges die, that they are buried face downwards. Understand? That judges are buried with their face down. Understand? And you know what that means. Even though I've not been able to verify. But if it's true, with what is happening now, I feel it should be true. Understand me? I feel
it's not true. Barrister Evans, right? It's not true.
No.
It's not true. So it's basically a myth.
This is what we believe, that judges are buried with their face
downwards.
That's in the casket.
Okay.
Understand? When we were growing up, we are seeing judges as special people. The judge in my area has an inscription on his door: visitors are not allowed. Understand? Even when we are disciplining, we treat his house like a sacred area. Understand? No noise, no anything. That's a judge lives here. so much respect, so much honor. Understand? But today, these guys are dancing naked on the streets. So that respect is no longer there, especially with this 2023 elections. Mind you that one LP member was sacked in Enugu for not being able to read and write. Did they set an exam for him? But he filled his form. How can you now say that he doesn't know how to read? Do you conduct a test for him and he failed? So this, for me, the judiciary, and with what Ariwanda said, which means they are unperturbed with what is going on in the country. That's, he is trying to justify the wrong judgments, the injustice they are given on a daily basis. So why shouldn't they be buried there with their face downwards? Understand? So for me, I know for a fact that it is not only INEC that can make an election to be credible, free and fair. For election to be free and fair, all hands must be on deck. The politicians, the security men, the voters, understand? The masses, all of them must play their own role. All of them must play by the books for election to be free and fair. But in the country, just like in Judge Ware country now, understand, there will be no court cases because the election went free and fair. And Judge Ware, even before all the final results came out, he congratulated the person that won. So he will not go to court. And the judges in Liberia, the courts in Liberia will now be concerned with other issues. But when they messed up everything, it will now go to the court. As like I told you before, I told you that INEC led the judiciary into temptation, but judiciary failed to deliver themselves from evil. So it is the mess that INEC made that the judiciary has been finding difficult to upturn. If you go for an exam that you win, you not even wait for the result that will come out and you know that you will pass. So also in every election. So all of us know, that's why we talk about popular judgments. That's why we talk about popular judgments. So even before INEC should declare any result, the voters must have had an idea of who will win that election. But this judiciary now, what they are doing, that's they are competing with the Omonindes. That's their credibility, and that of the area boys. I wonder which one is existing better.
All right.
So what Bishop Kuka said is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They are now like pawns that's in the hand of the politicians, doing the bidding of the politician. They are no more passing their judgment based on the evidence before them.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Nosike. The next conversation we'll be looking into is concerning the legal representative of Nnamdi Kanu, Aloy Ejimako. And we do know that he's a counsel to the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. He has urged Indigbos to pay the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and President Bola Tinubu a visit. The lawyer is giving the advice against the backdrop of demolitions currently taking place in Lagos State. He's also urging the Igbo leaders to visit the National Assembly caucus and traditional and civic leaders. Now, Ejimako is insisting that Igbo leaders must not beg for anything whatsoever. Instead, they should issue an ultimatum against the demolition taking place in some axes in Lagos State. They're also urging the federal government and the Lagos State government to stop making the country uncomfortable for the Igbos. Ejimako made the plea amidst claims that the Lagos State government is targeting and demolition markets populated by Igbos, which includes the demolition of buildings owned by the Igbos in the state. Now, of course, there are a lot of persons that were affected by these demolitions, but one of the notable or popular persons that we can make reference to is a former Super Eagles striker Emmanuel Emenike. Apparently, his building was also demolished and was caught in this entrapment. And they are saying that apparently the Lagos State government demolished the house despite getting due approval from relevant authorities. Barrister Evans Sufeli, we're going to be as crude as possible in this conversation, and we need to educate ourselves on what exactly is going on. Now, the Lagos State government claims, especially in the Lekki axis, that these buildings are actually built on the canal. There is a mapping, all right, that shows where the canal, where the water is meant to pass through, all right, before it gets to the ocean, the lagoon, or basically the ocean. Now, here is the scenario. Because these houses were built on those canals, there is a very tiny channel, almost like a gutter, that was created for the water to pass. And that channel is not enough. Now, most communities got affected because the water is obstructed. So when it rains, that entire area is completely submerged. Now, beyond that, when it's submerged, you see a lot of dirty things in the water, both feces from the septic tank of those houses, everything floats across, and the residents in those communities cannot find their routes to their various work destinations. That's one. The Lagos State government also said that way back from 2020-2021, they had asked those building in those areas not to build there based on the plan. But the victims claim that the same Lagos State government gave them CFO, gave them approval to build in these areas. The developers also, some of them got the CFO from the state government. They said they have their documents. Others said they were not warned. Others said that they went on and built and the government did not tell them, instructing them not to build at all. But developers and planners of that vicinity say that these buildings, as they're being demolished, they are creating a wider berth for the canals for water to pass through. And that it is not even the Lagos State government that wrote a petition. It is some communities that were submerged by water because the water is not passing through anywhere that wrote to the state government to do something about it. And they came around to check the area. So I needed to explain because there's a lot of ethnic divisive comments concerning this. Others believe that the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, made a statement after the elections. And he said that the Yorubas will take over all the lands, all the properties, all the allocations. They will take it back and own them that belongs to the Igbos. They will ensure that the Igbos know their place in Lagos State. And what is taking place is a full manifestation of what Mudashiru Obasa said. Other critics believe that when the Yoruba elders admonished Mudashiru Obasa for making that statement, is basically paying lip service and there was no genuinity in that. It's just for the press. But in word, they have had a conversation and they have agreed. Now, this is basically the malaise that is currently ongoing. Can you help explain in context what this means?
Yes. The Lagos State government is currently demolishing these houses.
Okay.
They are doing that on the basis that these people build on water channels, natural waterways. And because they have built there, water cannot go freely. Therefore, they have also said, allegedly, that these persons have been pre-informed about the dangers of what they have done, and then these houses will be demolished. Conversely, most of these people could show that they have CFO, they have building approvals, they have even a survey plan, which they did using the lands, Lagos State land, and all that. So it appears, for those who have evidence, the Lagos State is appropriating and reprobating, because You cannot, in one hand, give someone approval to build, and at this other hand, taking tractors and trucks to go demolish a building that you approve. So for those set of persons who have that condition, they should go to court to challenge that, ask for compensation and ask for damages. That is what is required. The states can as well take over the place as they have done, for variety public interests, that is to allow waterways to go on, but it should not end there. Damages and compensation must be paid. Now, as to whether it is ethnic, that is neither here nor there. It is not all the persons affected that are Igbos, but many and majority of them are Igbos. I think I can attest to that. But we cannot single out a discussion to mean that they are all Igbos, but many and a large number of them are Igbos. Now, the state itself have committed itself into a very difficult situation. And that is that as much as the citizens or the persons who are affected are licking their wounds, the states must bear the consequences of their action. Because for those who have genuine document to show that they have C of O is a document emanating from the office of the governor. It is called Certificate of Occupancy, the governor giving you authority within a number of years, usually 99 years, to habit a place. Okay, showing that there's an authority that you can use that land for the purpose of which you are using it for. Okay, so the same state, when it turns against you again, must explain, must face the law, okay, with the requisite damages and all the ancillary prayers that the parties, I will enjoin the parties to get good lawyers to prosecute these cases against the state. Because the state cannot eat its cake and have it. I'm telling you that if you know how much it takes to process a C of O, or how much it takes to get through these hurdles of building approval and all the necessary requirements, it takes time, it takes money, it takes a whole lot of resources. So if someone or group of persons have done that and they turn around and say they have to demolish it, then there must be recompense. Okay? Now, let me also say that there are persons among this block that had no approval whatsoever, that had no C of O, but went to those places to build mindlessly. Now, those set of persons are the ones whom, the oil that touched one finger spread to all the fingers. The target, I must say, must have been those persons who built without approval or without C of O. But perhaps getting there, they found other persons who are also blocking water channels, but had approval and C of O. And they could not sort out or distinguish between those who have contravened the law and those who are there by legal title issued by the state. And because it's a task force, whatever action or inaction of these persons is vicarious liability. It is the state that will bear the responsibility or liability for whatever actions or inactions of the task force that went to do demolition. Because it is quite wrong for a state to approve a building in the daytime and then come in the night to destroy it. It is not done anywhere. So the state must be ready to face the parties in question in the law court and to pay compensation where necessary. The persons who are affected have not been given any alternative accommodation. Most of them are now on the streets. And that is a very wrong way to treat citizens, where they don't have anywhere to go. You say you gave them notice. Many of them came out and said there was no notice whatsoever. That they just woke up one morning, one afternoon, and they saw tractors moving into sight, moving into their respective streets, demolishing buildings that had properties inside. No notice, no time to take those properties away. The properties and the building were destroyed to the ground. It is callous. It is callous to the extent that They had to uproot people's houses built with millions of naira. Some of these persons ended up in the hospital. Some of them are
I
still
even
in the
heard some
hospital.
persons died.
Some have died. Yes, some died. Some died, and that is man's inhumanity to man. If people have built along water channels, what the state ought to have done, if the state actually issued them approval, is to let them know that, okay, we issued this approval, you are correct, but we issued it wrongly, we are sorry. We have an alternative place for you. We will support you through the housing scheme, Lagos State public housing scheme. To support you to have another building so that you can relocate.
Is it possible that the state government does not want to do this? They don't want to spend that extra money? Because according to these residents, some of them said it was the same state government that gave them approval. And apparently, maybe due to pressure, or there was a new commissioner or a new boss in town who is trying to show his activeness in the sector. Others believe that maybe those what do you call them, land developers, possibly bribed their way through in getting this document. Unfortunately, they cannot pay more for this now that the state government intends to take action. But the question is, what happens in the interim? Some of them were not even given any minute notice to take their properties off.
Yes, what happens here is that what will happen is that the parties so affected must bring an action against the state government. That is necessary, very, very, very important, and especially those that have evidence to show that they have authority and approval to build where they built. And that for the state to come and take that off, take that down, the state must pay compensation to that effect. Whether the state likes it or not, it must pay compensation to those who it has wrongly destroyed their building. It is given, okay, as long as they have the evidence to so canvass their case. The institution within the state that is carrying out that function must be put on its toe to ensure that they have issues like this require you to do the needful. That is, to make sure that you follow through the legal process, because it is those who follow through the legal process that will be compensated. Those who do not want to go through the legal process may end up losing both their houses and the land in question, and they will fall back to nothing. So parties involved must, as a matter of necessity, endeavor to, fight this through and get justice.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Evans. Mr. Peter Nosike, I'm sure you've been following this situation for the past 1 week now. If you go to social media, it's terrible, the kind of narrative this situation has generated. What's your take?
Esther, I'm an Igbo man. And if there's reincarnation, I will still want to come back as an Igbo man. Understand? So, I have been a publicity secretary for Zendibo in the Southwest Zone as a whole for 8 years. I have been publicity secretary for Zendibo in Lagos State for 5 years. So, I have been following all this. But the truth is that I have sympathy for only those who did the right thing and their house was demolished. I want to repeat. I have sympathy for only those who did the right thing and their house were demolished. Only those who did the right thing. Some people are stupid when it comes to things like this. Before you build a house, that's what is called search. Understand me? Somebody will want to build a house of 100 million naira, but you cannot give a lawyer 1 million to go and do search for you. Understand me? You just buy from one omoninde and you start building. It is wrong. It is very, very wrong. Building houses on soccer ways, on pipelines is very wrong. At Abundadu, some years back, that was where there was a gas explosion.
Yeah.
I was there within 2 hours of that explosion because I'm living in Satellite Town. I saw what happened there. Understand me? But some money they still went and sold those land back
To people.
to people and they bought. So as I said, my sympathy is only for those who did the right thing, who did that research, get their CFO from government, because there are a lot of fake CFOs circulating. Understand me? So if you get your CFO, is it genuine?
Would you blame these developers? Because some of them, for example, let me give you an instance. You come to meet me as a developer. You tell me that I want to buy this plot of land. I tell you the specification on the kind of building structure I want. Then I tell you that please help me make your research, get the CF. Some of them will tell you we can help you go through all these legal processes. Your job, just pay, we get it done.
And you pay.
And you pay, and then they come and present documents to you and tell you everything is done. You bring your own lawyer, your lawyer looks at it and says, okay, fine, everything is okay. They tell you, you will see the seal of the state government and everything, and you're satisfied. Meanwhile, you don't know how these developers went about it.
Then whose fault?
Well, would you blame these individuals? Because that is how all these real estate agents sell. They tell you that they can go through all of these processes for you. They'll promise you that all the research, like you said, all the legal binding efforts involved, they will go through everything for you. All your own job is to pay for the property and they get it set, meaning you don't have to go through the hassles. So if they promised you all this and you brought your own lawyer, he went through all of it and you certified that everything is squeaky clean, how would you have known that maybe they went and met one Lagos State government official in the office, they're just one person, and then the person collected money and signed just for them to go ahead? Meanwhile, originally, the state government is not even aware that that land has been allocated to somebody.
Esther, before you build, that's what is called search. Understand me? In every state, go to the government house, they will tell you what every part of the state is allocated for. That this area is for industry, this area is for residential. These are what you have to do to make sure that you are doing the right thing. Understand? But some of our businessmen are so busy and they feel that money can solve everything. Understand? They prefer paying fines to doing the needful. They prefer paying fines to following due process. So at Amuodofi, I was there on Sunday. Last Sunday, I saw the building. Even a car can hardly pass between two buildings. They were bringing it to the road. But for you to build, you should give that 50 years from the road. So a lot of things are not done the right way. Now, my father said, if you are playing ball and you feel that referee is against you and you want to score, play your shot from outside the 18 so that there will be no dispute. Understand me? With the statement that's ungathered statement that Obasa made, it's enough for everybody, for every non-indigent to be careful. That I'm a haunted person. Therefore, I should make sure that I'm doing the right thing. If you are driving on the road and your papers are correct, no policeman can intimidate you. Understand me? If you want to build and you make sure that you did everything right, nobody can come and demolish your house. As Pastor often said, if there are 100 that the houses were demolished, not up to 10 will have the documents to go there to court because they did not follow the right process. Understand me? They did not follow the right process. So it is painful, it is emotional, but my sympathy goes for only those that did the right thing.
All right.
And their house were demolished.
Okay, so let's go to another conversation and possibly a final conversation for the day. Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi have used social media to question President Bola Tinubu's academic background, a topic of ongoing debate in Nigeria's presidential election. I'm sure a lot of us will say this debate has been ongoing from time immemorial, possibly since the election commenced. Well, it's still ongoing. They used their social media handle to ask these questions. Now, in the ongoing discourse surrounding President Bola Tinubu's academic records, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party for the February 25 election and Peter Obi of the Labour Party have recently utilized social media to cast doubt on the president's educational background. Now, the opposition leaders subtly emphasized their own connection to their alma maters, prompting their supporters to challenge President Tinubu to do the same. Now, Atiku's alma mater visit, which was on November 22, on a particular Wednesday, and of course, he visited a central primary school, Jada, Adamawa State, where he began his academic journey. Now, as part of his 77th birthday, the PDP candidate reportedly granted scholarships to deserving students at the school, and he used the opportunity to express his gratitude for his accomplishments despite humble beginnings. Now, Peter Obi as well did the same thing. On Sunday, November 26, just yesterday, he replicated a similar gesture by visiting his alma mater in his school's uniform. So I'm sure you can see that on your screen. Now, the former governor of Anambra shared on social media that he joined Christ the King College Onisha community in celebration of the institution's 90th Founders Day anniversary. Now, what are the concerns that were raised by these two presidential candidates of the opposition parties, that is the PDP and the Labour Party? Now, during and after the presidential election, Atiku and Obi raised questions about President Tinubu's academic records. In fact, they casted doubt on his attendance at any primary, secondary, or tertiary institution. Now, concerning Atiku's investigation at Chicago State University, in his attempt to substantiate his claims that Tinubu indeed does not have any educational qualifications or background, or that he indeed attended any institution, Atiku Abubakar went ahead to solidify that doubt by visiting Chicago State University to inquire about Tinubu's academic record. And we do know the U.S. court was subsequently compelled to release Tinubu's records, leading to the widespread media debate. Now, Atiku presented his findings, all right, and his investigation before the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, that did not work in his favor. They dismissed it, citing a lack of merit. Barrister Evans Ufeili, critics have asked the question, is it necessary? The reason why these presidential candidates of these opposition political parties visited their alma mater is because they are not carrying the weight of the nation on their shoulders. They definitely have the time to do that. Others believe that he does not necessarily have to attend any of this institution to prove anything to anybody. Our production crew just told me that Evans Ufeili is not in yet. All right, Mr. Peter Anosike, I want to know, what's your take on this?
Well, Joe Biden went to his secondary school as a president of the United States.
Okay.
Obama did the same thing. Understand? So, for me, no matter how busy you are, you must have time off. When Atiku went to the central school, he said, here it all began. Understand me? That his journey of life started here. So he come to felicitate with them. And Peter Obi did the same thing. And mind you, a lot of the schools are doing one event or the other this time around. So it is just a coincidence that Peter Obi and the Atiku's own school, alma mater, we are doing the same thing. They did not just do it for Tinubu that to go and do his own. We know that he has nowhere to go. Understand? And Festus Keyamo told us that Tinubu read at home. Understand? So he didn't attend school. So, but the issue is this: they have passed that message, but the person that they are passing that message to has this nonchalant attitude. It will not even bother him. He doesn't care. As they say that he is too busy, that he will continue being busy. But he has achieved his ambition, and his ambition is to be the president of Nigeria, so no other thing matters. Understand? But the message has been passed. Every human being should have a history. Melchizedek has never ruled any country in the world, and Nigeria shouldn't be an exception. So we should, but if the Bible says, remember the days of native beginning. So that was what Atiku and Peter did, going back to their alma mater to felicitate with them. And I know that if Tinubu has won, they will have invited him to also come. If he has won, they will have also invited him that to come. Because now I know that in my school, in my secondary school, the current senator representing Enugu North is an old boy. And when we did our convention, we invited him and he came. Understand? So if the president has won, the school will have been happy to invite him to also come to inspire other students. Understand? The school would have invited him to come so as to inspire other students. What inspired Bill Clinton? It was when John Kennedy was the president of America. He visited John Kennedy. Bill was a student then. He came to their school and they shook hands. It was from then the urge for presidency entered him. So you get a lot of inspirations through this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Peter Anuske. Barrister Evans Ufeli, we lost you for a while there, but apparently there is the ongoing debate concerning the president's institution. His academic record controversy case sparked up again. Atiku Abubakar of the PDP visited his alma mater. Peter Obi too did the same thing yesterday, and critics are asking, where is the president's alma mater? What institution will he attend? Others feel that the president is overwhelmed with issues in the nation and he doesn't have to show or prove anything to anybody. There is no competition there. Others believe that Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi actually do not have anything in their hands, and that's why they could actually take their time to do all of that. But what's your take, though, as briefly as possible, so we'll round off?
Well, I think it is the president's prerogative to decide whether or not he also visit his alma mater. And where none exists, I don't think there's anything to visit. But the issue is quite trivial. It's quite trivial. If he has not visited his alma mater, I don't see how, because people be and Atiku visited there, therefore the president must visit his. And if he's not able to visit it, it means he doesn't have any, or that there's no place to visit. For me, it's trivial. There's nowhere in the law that says that if you contest election and win, as a president, you must visit your alma mater as a matter of requirements, or nothing like that. But I know the public space is full of issues of comparison, peer pressure, people making statements, inflammatory statements to heat up the polity, to create unnecessary. It is good. Peter Obi went to his alma mater, Christ the King. Atiku went. The president no longer any compulsion. And besides, I am not a supporter of this president. But on the issue under reference, I don't think that he should be pressured or be pushed here and there to visit one alma mater. How about if there's no alma mater? Where will he live? Where will he visit? Where will he visit? Where will he go? So I think that issue is not as important as people want us to believe.
All right, Barrister Evans Sifeli, thank you so much for your report on VOP politics this evening. I sincerely appreciate you taking your time to give us a breakdown on these issues being talked about. All right, and Peter Onosike, thank you so much as well for taking your time. We've actually, gone beyond the estimated time to wrap up this program. Make sure you follow us on our social media at VOP TV Live, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Voice of the People TV. Follow me on social media as well as Stick Media on YouTube. That's ESTIQMEDIA across all platforms. All right, have a wonderful evening. To the production crew, thank you for making the program pleasant.